Hello and welcome once again to the video. Continuing my series looking at every Grand Prix in the 2026 Formula One World Championship, as I do every year. And I don't know where to begin with this race, really. This race had quite a lot going on. Can I just say, but firstly I'll just explain to anyone who hasn't seen my videos before. I do a rundown of the finishing order. Actually, let's just move this in slightly. A bit more light. Let's get a bit more light in there. There we go. Yeah, a rundown of the finishing order, plus top 10 in the Drivers' Championship. Make a rundown of that, and then the rundown of the 11 constructors, which I always call 10. Okay, let's just move the other light across a little bit. I'm just changing. Just bear with me a moment. I'm just changing the position of this light a little bit. There we go. Okay, so what I'd like to say straight off the bat is that I've changed tack on Antonelli now. I believed up until this Grand Prix weekend in Monaco, let's write Monaco down, I believed that Russell was still going to win the championship, because even though Antonelli had driven extremely well, I still felt that he had been somewhat lucky at times. What was the race? Was it Japan, where he should really have come third and he came first because of the timing of the safety car? But he did put it on pole for that race. And in China, Russell had a munched up qualifying, which cost him in the race, in the Grand Prix. Little things like that, which had helped Antonelli. It did seem a little bit like if something bad happened and there was a big plume of smoke, out of that smoke somehow would come Antonelli. But this Monaco Grand Prix has completely changed my mind on Antonelli. Totally masterful performance. I was just waiting for him to make a mistake and he just didn't. 2 standing starts he had to cope with, plus a restart as well under the safety car. And each time, on each start, he would just blast away and be out of DRS range. Well, there's no DRS now, is there? But, you know, the 1 second range. He'd be out of that range within a quarter of a lap. It's incredible. Not a foot wrong. And he managed to not get a speeding in the pit lane penalty as well. Unbelievable stuff. But anyway, let's dive in and do the rundown of the finishing order. Antonelli. Hamilton. You're in focus. Yeah, there we go. Third, somehow, was Hadjar. Piastri, and then we've got Lawson. And Lindblad. Unlucky Gasly. Albon. Ocon. Alonso. 17th was Leclerc. 18th, Stroll. Then Norris. Bearman. Bottas. Verstappen. So, did Sainz actually finish the race? Can't remember if he did or not. But anyway, I think Leclerc was the first of the non-finishers. Okay, so let's go up here. Okay, let's go. Uh, 156. Piastri. 60. Norris. 58. Verstappen. 43. Hadjar, 29. Lawson, 26. Gasly, 26. And then constructors, we have Mercedes on 244. 165 for Ferrari. McLaren on 118. Red Bull on 72. Alpine 41. Racing Bull. Never pronounce the S. Racing Bull 39. Haas 21. Williams. 11. Audi 2. Aston Martin 1. Look at that. Aston Martin has scored a point, but at the expense of Cadillac, who nearly scored a point. Okay, so what did we think of that race? I'm not going to do a blow-by-blow account of the race, because that would give me a headache, I think. I never normally do that. I normally just talk about it, how I think it went. Let's just first of all put down 6 wins. 6 wins for Mercedes. 5 for Antonelli. It's crazy, isn't it? 1 for Russell. Fastest lap was Antonelli, of course. So what do we think? As I said, my opinion of Antonelli has skyrocketed after this Grand Prix, after the whole weekend. And a race where he was not supposed to dominate. He dominated far more than he has done on any other racetrack this year. Because you could say that in Canada, there's a good chance that Russell would have won that race. There's a good chance Antonelli would have as well, because Antonelli was slightly faster than Russell, but it was very neck and neck between them. Japan, it should have been Piastri or Russell that won that race. China, without Russell's qualification woes, don't know what would have happened there. So there are things that contributed and helped Antonelli in other races, but here, this was Antonelli driving like Senna, basically. It was unbelievable stuff. So now I'm thinking maybe Antonelli will actually win this year's World Championship. For the first time this year, I'm thinking, do you know what? I think Antonelli may well win this. I think he's going to win it. It was a few stats that were given after the race. It was the largest age gap between podium finishers at Monaco. Now, I assume they mean maybe like any of the three podium places, like between first and second, second and third, first and third. 21.5 years between Antonelli and Hamilton, beating the record which had previously been set in 1957 by Juan Manuel Fangio and Maston Gregory. I think Maston Gregory was American, wasn't he? I seem to remember. I used to be massively into the stats of Formula One before I got disillusioned by when they changed the points system from 10 points to 25 points, and that messed up all of that. And because of that, I got a little bit irritated and messed up all the stats. And so I abandoned monitoring the stats all the time. But Maston Gregory is definitely a drive that I remember writing down lots of times when I was keeping track of all their statistics. I think he was American, but I'm not entirely certain. It's the youngest ever winner of Monaco. Incredible. Also, another very interesting stat, which I partially knew anyway, and that's the 4 on the trot. I know he's now done 5 on the trot, but he 32 times, basically, a driver has won 4 on the trot. Now, I didn't know that specific stat. 32 times in the history of the Formula One World Championship since 1950, a driver has won 4 on the trot. And on 30 of those 32 occasions, the driver that has done that has gone on to win the championship that year. The amazing stat is that those 2 occasions where the driver didn't win the championship took place in the very same year. Now, this is, I knew that Hamilton had done 4 on the trot twice in 2016 and did not win the championship, of course. But I was unaware that that's the only time that a driver has won 4 on the trot and not won the championship. But the incredible thing is that he did it twice in the same year. So not only has nobody else ever won 4 on the trot and lost a championship, but he actually did it twice in the same year. 4 on the trot twice in 2016 and still lost the World Championship. Of course, had he won the championship, he lost to Rosberg by 5 points. Had he beaten Rosberg, then Rosberg would have that stat of being the only person to have won 4 races in a championship without winning the championship, because he won 4 races at the start of the season. Hamilton won the last 4, Rosberg won the first 4, and then Hamilton also won 4 in the middle of the season. So it was actually done 3 times in 2016. Also, I think that's the only year that someone's won as many as 10 Grand Prix in a season and not won the championship. Hamilton won 10 races to Rosberg's 9. So very interesting stats from 2016, I think. So, yeah, so fantastic performance. Pole position, Antonelli. I didn't write that down, did I? And I thought, now my prediction, which I got completely well, yeah, completely wrong, was Leclerc. Second was going to be Norris. Third was going to be Hamilton. So Hamilton was on the podium, but not in the right spot. So cross. And my score is now 5 out of 18. Successful podium predictions. I have to say, as the weekend started, I suddenly regretted not putting Verstappen in there. I thought, why have I not put Verstappen in there? This is a leveler. This is a leveler to a certain extent, as regards cars and engines and things like that. So Verstappen, I should have him down as a podium finish, but in the end, no, I shouldn't, because he was out right at the start. Was it a battery failure, or was it just a power unit, just classed as a power unit failure? Was it battery? Was it the internal combustion engine? Who knows? One thing that was nice about this race was that the word battery was not the most used word in commentary, which was great. Mind you, the word that was used a lot was still a frustrating word, and that was penalty. Penalty was used a hell of a lot, but battery was not used that much at all, was it? Because of all these strange speeding in the pit lane penalties, plus other penalties that people got, but mostly, I think about 6, maybe 7 speeding in the pit lane things, including Gasly, who got it twice. He got 2 speeding in the pit lane penalties, and he crossed the line 3rd and got demoted to 7th because of the 10 seconds he lost. All of them are saying that they hit the speed limiter before the white line. However, interestingly, Zach Brown during the race was saying, no, we think Piastri was genuinely speeding. Our data shows that. Well, I think that's reliance too much on data, because they warned Piastri before his pit stop because of what had happened to Hamilton and others. They said, look, watch your speed coming into the pits, because lots of people are getting caught out. Watch your speed coming to the pits. He comes into the pits and gets done for speeding in the pit lane. So I reckon that Piastri did it all correctly, as the others claim to have done. But Zach Brown is just staring at the telemetry and saying, no, data says this, computer says no. So there you go. Or computer says yes on this occasion. We still don't know if there was a fault. We still don't know if it's going to get looked into. But all the speeding in the pit lane, I think it has to be looked into because it happens so much. It's not a problem going forward in other races, but it might be an issue with Monaco. But where the white line is hasn't changed since last year, so I don't know. We don't know what's going on there. It's very strange how so many people got penalties, including Hamilton. So let's look at my notes here. Oh yeah, Hamilton's pink helmet. Oh, for goodness sake. It takes me back a few years when he would almost turn up to a Grand Prix with the English crown on top of his head, Dearie me. I think Hamilton's great, but I struggle with some of the fashion, some of Hamilton's fashion. But that's possibly my fault, because maybe I'm just an old fart, and I don't see what's great about extremely baggy trousers and giant shoes and bling helmets. Maybe I'm just weird for not warming to that, I don't know. It could well be that I'm the one that's totally in the wrong there, But anyway, great performance by Hamilton. Now, he had a 5-second penalty as well, didn't he? But he was able to serve it without losing a place to Leclerc, which I think annoyed Leclerc a little bit. Hamilton and Leclerc, when Stroll had his crash, Hamilton and Leclerc came in to change tyres, Antonelli did it the following lap. Hamilton and Leclerc came in, so Leclerc had to wait a little bit, not for very long, because he just backed off slightly before coming to the pits. So he didn't have to stop the car at all, even though they double stacked. But it meant that Hamilton got rid of that 5-second penalty quite cheaply. Yeah, early on we had Russell. God, I say early on, it was nearly all. It felt like it was the entire race. Russell versus Hadjar. Russell trying everything possible to get past Hadjar. Everything possible apart from what he did last year when he was stuck behind Albon for ages. He just cut the corner at the before the swimming pool, the chicane after the tunnel. He just cut that corner to get past Albon, got a penalty, but more than made up for it by pulling clear of Albon. But they've stopped that this year. You get a much, much bigger penalty if you do that this year. But how can they judge whether or not you've done it? Well, they can't judge if you've done it deliberately, but what they can do is they can just say, you've got to give the position back or else you get like a 1-minute penalty or something, drive-through penalty. But yeah, he was stuck behind Hadjar for ages. Hadjar was moaning more about his Red Bull than Max moans about his Red Bull. Yeah, seriously, he was. If you watched it, you would have seen just, God, dear. I mean, you think what a putty mouth Max has when he's talking about his car, even when he's winning a championship. But Hadjar was really, really laying into his car. But I think that Hadjar had genuine issues with it. Well, they told him over the radio that they can see what the problem is and they're trying to fix it. But Hadjar had issues all race long and still managed to come third. Incredible. Thanks, of course, to Russell's issues. Russell had that penalty. He had a speeding in the pit lane penalty, which then he wasn't served. Came into the pits, didn't he? Russell came into the pits. I know I'm talking all out of order here, aren't I? I'm not following the race, but that's how I'm doing it. I've got some notes here, and something I says just leads on to something else. That's how I'm going to do it. But Russell came into the pits. The team didn't want him in. He came in anyway, so it was a bit last minute. And for some crazy reason, they didn't serve the penalty in the pit. But you could tell when he stopped, the right front crew, the guy was actually holding up his hand, stopping the guy touching the car. He said, "Don't touch the car, don't touch the car." 5-second penalty. But the guys on the left front, and maybe the rear guys as well, just ploughed in and started changing the tyres straight away. And so then the ones on the right front obviously thought, oh, something's changed. We're not doing the penalty now. Quickly change the tyre. But they were actually in the right, but they obviously thought they were in the wrong because they thought, oh, quick, everybody else is changing the tyres, so let's dive in there and change the tyres. What a mess by the team. You think of how many billions of dollars the strategy people are paid to get the strategy right, and how many milliseconds goes into the calculations when working out strategy. And they mess something up as simple as serving a 5-second penalty. Afterwards, the excuse was made, oh, well, it's because the team were not expecting Russell. What? No, if you're not expecting the driver to come in, then you don't have the tyres ready. That's the sort of thing that happens. They did have the tyres ready, though. So, but that's the sort of thing that happens if you're not expecting someone in. If they take you by surprise, then, the rear jack man might be on the toilet or something, or the tyres are just not ready, something like that. The front wheel gun man is having a sandwich, sitting on the tyre. What wouldn't happen is that you just forget about a 5-second penalty. Very, very strange. And the guys in the right front didn't forget. But of course, that then gave Russell even more penalties to serve, which was very costly because by the time he had to serve them, the field was bunched together due to the red flag and everything. And so that pushed Russell all the way down in the end to 12th, when really he should have been third. But yeah, Hadjar was helped by that, and he was also helped by Leclerc's retirement as well. Leclerc, who had been on the phone complaining quite a lot. I would say he's the one that complains about strategy the most in Formula One, is Leclerc. He's the one that moans on the phone the most about his team's strategy. And I would say Verstappen is the one that moans about the car the most. Verstappen, even if he's out front leading by half a minute, he will still moan about how terrible the car is. And Leclerc will justifiably, he'll have a point. Often Leclerc has a valid point. Most of the time he has a valid point with his complaints, but it's just wasting energy, and it's not going to help with your driving on the track. Unless you're one of those people where it does help you if you get angry on the track. Some people in the past it has helped, but most it doesn't. But Leclerc was not happy with how they did the pit stops. He wasn't happy initially with the fact that they had stopped at all, but then pretty much everyone at the top stopped, didn't they? Anyway, Leclerc then had that big accident in the same place where Stroll had his big accident. So then it was blamed on the track breaking up, although both Stroll and Leclerc said, no, it's nothing to do with the track. Stroll was blaming a basic fault with the engine that he's had all year, where it just suddenly pushes him forward, or it gives him too much power or takes power away or something at different parts of the circuit. And he says it basically gave him a burst of power and pushed him into the wall. And Leclerc was blaming the brakes, very much so. Strangely, not blaming strategy, team strategy for that particular accident, but he was blaming the brakes. So he was blaming the car, actually. So what have we got here? Norris versus Gasly. Of course, Norris spent ages trying to get past Gasly before he started experiencing car problems. Where was that one where... Norris out. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was a funny bit where Norris was... scrapping with Gasly for ages and ages, and then Norris, I think it was Norris and Gasly, I'm pretty sure it was Norris and Gasly. Norris was suddenly passed by Gasly, and someone else got past Norris as who was it that David Croft completely missed someone overtaking someone else. Was it Hadjar having an issue? Someone had an issue, and I think it might have been Russell got past. Anyway, it was completely missed by David Croft. I don't know what he was looking at the time. And it was in a tunnel. The driver blasted past another driver. I've written on my notes here that it was Norris. But I don't think it was, because it was someone getting... Oh, maybe it was Russell getting past Norris. Yeah, that's right. Sorry, yeah, that's right. I was thinking it was either Norris v Gasly or Russell v Hadjar, but it was actually Norris v Russell. There's so much going on in this race. When Russell came up behind Norris and Gasly, and Russell suddenly blasted past Norris in the tunnel, completely missed by the commentators. And then another car also blasted past Norris. Again, no mention from the commentators. And then Norris started to go slow on the straight on the way to back. And then suddenly Crofty noticed and made comment about it. And then a replay was shown on the TV sometime after that. And he goes, oh, looks like Russell had already got past Norris. Totally, completely missed. But we can forgive them, because that's a difficult job, what they do. They're juggling lots of stuff, as all commentators and all channels are. They've got lots of TV screens to look at, lots of facts and figures. So we've just got one TV to look at. So, yeah, we can forgive them for that. I just thought it was amusing. It completely missed it, but understandable. So what do we have here? Yeah, so Hamilton, Piastri, Russell, Gasly twice, Colapinto speeding in the pit lane. They were not the only ones that got penalised. Williams did a little bit of tactical driving, didn't they? Now, it's been criticised by other drivers, but any team would do that in that situation. Albon and Sainz were like a tag team, taking it in turns to back up the field whilst the other one would have their pit stop. And it worked very smoothly as regards how it was implemented. It worked very well how it was implemented, but it didn't actually really gain them anything in the end. Anyway, I mean, Sainz ended up 16th because he got clobbered by someone, didn't he, later on the restart? Was it Hulkenberg? Yeah, Hulkenberg clobbered him later. I thought Sainz would do well in this race, and he may well have done, because he was sort of like nip and tuck with Albon. He might have got a 7th or something. But after hitting Hulkenberg, well, even before that, because the toing and froing between Albon and Sainz, their tag team routine, didn't really work. He was still down in about 12th place, I think, Sainz. Albon finished 8th. So it didn't work holding up the pack, but it was implemented well and smoothly. Although Albon thought that they shouldn't be doing it at all, actually. Yeah, Stroll's crash into, is it Anthony Nogues? It's that little kink, that little last corner, isn't it? That's a bit of a kink. I think that's called the Anthony Nogues corner, isn't it? That's where Leclerc crashed as well. Yeah, I mentioned him. Leclerc out. Yes, Leclerc was out on the restart. That was odd because I saw that live. I saw them go round. Is it Rascasse? I forget these names so often. I saw the Antonelli, Hamilton, and Leclerc went around that Rascasse, and it's a very close-up camera shot at Rascasse. I thought, okay, good. And then they showed the camera sort of like panned around to show what should have been 3 cars going off, around Anthony Nogues. And instead there was only 2. And then there was a distance shot of them on the straight, of them coming towards the pit straight. And there was no Leclerc. And I thought, where's Leclerc gone? And then it was revealed that he had crashed into the barriers. It's terrible for Leclerc. On home ground, he either does really well here or really badly. The last 2 years, he's had 2 good races, a first and a second. But he's had retirements in the past, and the one from a few years ago where he crashed, damaged his car in qualifying, took the race in pole position, still was on pole position despite damaging his car in qualifying, and then had to retire on the formation lap because of his damaged car. That's terrible. So yeah, the red flag from the broken up road surface. Now, F1 likes to pride itself on the fact that the real world takes a lot of the technology from F1 and uses it on road cars. Yeah, well, this is an occasion where the real world can be proud, because here with this broken road, it's F1 that's actually taken something from the real world, and all the potholes and canyons and sinkholes that we get on the roads, particularly where I live in the southeast of England. It's ridiculous, and it was looking like that basically. So that was the real world influencing F1 instead of F1 influencing the real world, which I thought was quite interesting. So I don't have anything else really to add. I don't think. Did I mention that? And I mentioned that. There was one little comment, not actually specifically about the race, but it's another way for me to attack sprint races. There was no sprint race here. But when you look at charts showing how the championship is progressing, and indeed previous championships, if it's a chart that shows you the number of points scored, which most of them do online and in books, they show you the points scored. You can't tell who's won a race and who hasn't with a lot of them, unless they highlight it in red or something. Because if it involves a sprint race, then there could actually be more points for the driver finishing second in the Grand Prix, more points over the weekend than for the winner of the Grand Prix. If the winner of the Grand Prix gets 25 points and doesn't finish in the sprint, and the guy who finishes second in the Grand Prix wins the sprint, then the guy second in the Grand Prix would get 26 points. And the guy winning the Grand Prix would get 25 points. So you can't look just looking at it. It's not neat and tidy. It used to be in the old days when you had 10 points for a win, you just looked and saw who had 10. Oh, 10, 10, yeah, 10, 10, 10, and that meant that was the winner. That was the winner of the race. Now it's 32, 29, 16, 28, and you can't accurately track. I mean, I tend to know off the top of my head, of course, in a current year who's won what races, but you can't easily just glance at a chart, most charts anyway, unless they say who came first and they just have first, second, third on the charts. Then obviously it would just say first for the Grand Prix and stuff. But the ones that give points, you can't tell, and I find that a bit irritating, but that's a minor point. Oh, another thing that's just been revealed, just before the weekend, I think, was that the FIA have decided that Red Bull have the best F1 engine. That's incredible. Well, that's a bit of a slap in the face for big manufacturers like Honda and Mercedes and Audi and Ferrari, isn't it? That Red Bull in partnership with Ford, have managed to create the best engine in Formula One in 2026. According to the FIA. So that's a big pat on the back for them, but it's also a bit of a backhanded compliment because it means that they cannot upgrade their engine this year at all, whereas the other teams can. Although Hamilton says it's like 7 to 8 month program to update your engine. Why are you going to do that within a season then? Even for just one upgrade, let alone two, which is what Ferrari will have, because Ferrari have got the third best officially, Mercedes the second best, Red Bull the best. It's weird though, isn't it? I did hear that this was going to happen at some stage during the year. FIA were going to look at who had the best and then there were going to be upgrades based on that. But I've never experienced that in F1 before, and I'm not entirely certain I like it. If you've got the best engine, you shouldn't be penalised, which is what Red Bull are going to be, isn't it? By allowing the other teams to upgrade their engines, the other engine manufacturers to upgrade their engines. I don't think that's right. But anyway, so Hamilton, look at that, 90 points, second in the championship now. Look at that. But that's only because Russell didn't score any points, nor did Leclerc. And also Norris and Verstappen didn't score any points either. So that's why Hamilton's up there. But still, second place in the championship. He's not been there for a very long time. Not since the end of 2021. Cadillac, oh my word. Had it not been for Perez having 2 penalties, not for speeding in the pit lane, I don't think though, was it? It was for... He had 2 separate penalties for starting grid, being out of line on the starting grid, basically. And those penalties were applied at the end of the race. And instead of being in 10th place, which because of other penalties, it looked like he was going to be 10th, the penalties were then applied and Perez ended up 15th. So it was great for Aston Martin getting that 1 point for Alonso. However, is it great? No, it isn't. A comment was made that, Lawrence Stroll will be happy. He'll be jumping up and down. He'll be over the moon. Why? Why are you going to be over the moon with your team scoring 1 point when Lawrence would have been thinking, we're going to win the championship this year. We've got Adrian Newey, who's been working on the car for the whole of 2025. So we're going to win the championship in 2026. So he's not going to jump up and down with excitement at having 1 point after 6 races. So, but Cadillac would have been jumping up and down had they got that 1 point. So that's really unfortunate. But it would have only been because of the misfortune of others, of course. Okay, so there you go. What else? I think I pretty much covered everything in a sort of roundabout kind of way. I was all over the place. But my main standout comment, my main standout thing, I still don't think Antonelli will win the next race, though. I think Russell will win the next race in Spain. But I'll do a thingy on that, a prediction one on that. But I do think it'll be Russell. Maybe that'll change in my mind, but I don't think so, because Russell now thinks the championship is gone. I mean, he's dropped even to 3rd in the championship. So Russell will think championship's gone. He'll relax and he'll be back to being on fire again. And I think Russell will comfortably win the Spanish Grand Prix. So I'm still not predicting Antonelli to win. I predicted his first win in China. I've successfully predicted that. Ever since then, I've definitely thought he wasn't going to win. He's won them all. But yeah, I think Russell will come to a certain extent bouncing back. But I do think now that Antonelli is going to win the championship. That's crazy, isn't it? I put a little bet on Antonelli, a tiny little bet, last year when he was about 5,000 to 1 to win it. I didn't this year. Anyway, so there you go. I didn't mention everybody. Piastri, he had a very quiet, lacklustre race, didn't he? I mean, where was he all race? He was always there or thereabouts in sort of 3rd, 4th, 5th place, wasn't he? All race, but didn't seem to threaten at all. His McLaren was nowhere, and he was nowhere as well. Well out of it. Okay, all right, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to subscribe, please do so, or like the video, or comment on the video. Or even leave a tip on the thanks button below the video. But mainly just thank you very much for watching. And if you don't subscribe, please subscribe. And I will see you on the very next video, whatever it may be about. Thank you and goodbye for now.